Appearances matter. Machiavelli's art of impression management. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Mine and Niccolò Machiavelli. Have you ever wondered why some people with average talents rise to extraordinary positions, while others with remarkable abilities remain undiscovered? Why certain leaders command immediate respect, while others struggle to be taken seriously despite their competence? The answer often lies not in what's real, but in what's perceived. A truth that Niccolò Machiavelli recognized with unparalleled clarity 5 centuries ago. In our image-saturated world of social media profiles, personal branding, and first impressions that form in milliseconds, Machiavelli's insights on the power of appearances have never been more relevant. The Renaissance political philosopher understood something that modern psychology has only recently confirmed through research. Perception often matters more than reality when it comes to how people evaluate you, trust you, and decide whether to follow your lead. Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, Machiavelli observed in The Prince, because seeing is given to everyone, touching to few. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This penetrating observation cuts to the heart of human psychology. We make judgments based on limited information, and these quick assessments often determine opportunities, relationships, and advancement. But far from merely highlighting this reality, Machiavelli offered practical guidance on how to navigate it effectively. His approach to impression management wasn't about shallow deception, but strategic self-presentation, carefully shaping how others perceive you to maximize your effectiveness and achieve your aims. Today, we'll explore these Machiavellian insights and how they can be ethically applied in modern contexts, from professional advancement to leadership and relationship building. Let's begin with what might be Machiavelli's most fundamental insight about impression management. Understand the difference between being and appearing. It is not necessary for a prince to have all the aforementioned qualities, he wrote, but it is very necessary to appear to have them. While this might initially sound dishonest, Machiavelli was acknowledging a practical reality, that public perception shapes your ability to function effectively in any role. Consider how this principle operates in contemporary professional contexts. A leader who actually possesses brilliant strategic thinking but appears disorganized or uncertain will struggle to implement their vision because others won't trust their direction. Conversely, a leader who projects confident competence may gain the followership necessary to achieve their goals, even if they privately harbor doubts or rely on their team for certain expertise. The modern workplace is filled with examples of this dynamic. Studies show that employees who are perceived as competent and confident are given more opportunities regardless of their actual performance. Researchers at Stanford found that overconfident individuals were more likely to be selected for leadership roles and more influential in group settings, independent of their actual abilities. This reality creates both ethical challenges and practical imperatives. The question isn't whether to manage impressions. You already are, whether consciously or not. The question is whether to do so strategically and effectively. As communication expert Olivia Fox-Cabane puts it, you're constantly broadcasting information about yourself through nonverbal cues you're not even aware of. You might as well be intentional about it. What are the key principles of Machiavellian impression management, and how can they be applied ethically and effectively in modern contexts? Let's explore the most powerful strategies. First, Machiavelli emphasized the importance of understanding your audience. Effective impression management isn't about projecting a single fixed image, but rather adapting your presentation to the values, expectations, and needs of those you're trying to influence. A prince must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. he wrote, highlighting the necessity of flexibility and adaptation. This audience-centered approach remains crucial today. Different professional contexts reward different qualities. The startup culture that celebrates disruptive innovation may value visible passion and creative thinking, while traditional banking might prioritize appearances of stability and prudence. The effective impression manager doesn't adopt a one-size-fits-all approach, but tailors their self-presentation to the specific environment. Ask yourself, what qualities does your current context value most? How might you authentically emphasize aspects of yourself that align with these expectations? This isn't about fabricating a false persona, but strategically highlighting genuine aspects of yourself that resonate with your audience. Second, Machiavelli recognized the power of visible consistency. Nothing makes a prince so well esteemed as undertaking great enterprises and giving striking demonstrations of his ability. He noted, while private inconsistencies are human, public inconsistencies undermine trust and confidence. People expect consistency between words and actions, and apparent contradictions damage perceived trustworthiness significantly. This principle appears in research on political candidates, where perceived flip-flopping often does more damage than holding an unpopular position consistently. In professional contexts, employees who deliver on commitments consistently, even in small matters, build reputational capital that helps them weather occasional failures or missteps. Consider your own consistency from others' perspective. Do you follow through on commitments visibly? Are your actions aligned with your stated values and priorities? Inconsistencies between what you say and what you do create an impression of unreliability or inauthenticity that can undermine your influence regardless of your intentions or abilities. Third, Machiavelli emphasized strategic visibility. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, he observed, noting the importance of being seen taking right actions at the right times. This doesn't mean that every good deed needs an audience, but it does suggest being mindful of which actions are visible and to whom. In modern workplaces, this principle explains why employees who work remotely often need to be more intentional about making their contributions visible than those physically present. It also helps explain why in many organizations, perception of work often matters as much as actual productivity. Strategic visibility isn't about showboating, but ensuring your contributions and capabilities are appropriately recognized. Ask yourself, are your most significant contributions visible to decision makers? Are you strategic about which work you highlight and when? Effective impression management requires not just doing good work, but ensuring that work is seen by those whose perceptions matter most to your goals. Fourth, Machiavelli recognized the power of association. A prince ought to show himself a lover of talent, giving employment to able men and honoring those who excel in a particular field, he advised. Who you associate with and are seen associating with shapes how others perceive you through the principle of social proof. Modern research confirms this Machiavellian insight. We tend to attribute the qualities of a person's associates to the person themselves. Being seen with respected figures enhances your own perceived credibility. Being associated with unsuccessful or disliked individuals can tarnish your reputation regardless of your personal qualities. This principle appears in career advancement strategies like strategic mentorship and networking. Those who build visible relationships with respected figures in their field often find doors opening more readily than those who work in isolation, regardless of actual skill levels. The Machiavellian approach isn't about shallow name-dropping, but building genuine connections with individuals whose qualities align with your professional aspirations. Consider your own associations. Do your visible professional and personal connections enhance or detract from the impression you wish to create? Are there relationships you should cultivate or highlight more prominently? Are there associations that might be undermining how others perceive you? Fifth, Machiavelli understood the importance of managing expectations. Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived, he observed. While this might sound cynical, it highlights how easily people can be misled by unrealistic promises, and by extension, how damaging unfulfilled expectations can be to perceived trustworthiness. The strategic impression manager understands that it's better to underpromise and overdeliver than the reverse. Research on customer satisfaction consistently shows that exceeding modest expectations creates more positive impressions than failing to meet ambitious ones. The same principle applies in personal and professional relationships. This doesn't mean setting unnecessarily low expectations, but rather being realistic about what you can deliver and building in margins for uncertainty. The leader who promises what they know they can achieve, then occasionally exceeds those promises, builds stronger trust than one who makes grand commitments that regularly fall short. Reflect on your own approach to expectations. Do you make commitments you can consistently fulfill? Do you build in margins for unexpected challenges? Are you creating patterns of reliability or disappointment in others' perceptions? Sixth, Machiavelli recognized that perception is shaped by moments of crisis and decision. Men worry less about doing an injury to one who makes himself loved than to one who makes himself feared, he noted, highlighting how people watch leaders especially carefully during challenging times to determine their true character. Research on leadership confirms this observation. While routine management builds baseline impressions, how a leader responds to unexpected challenges or opportunities disproportionately shapes others' perceptions of their capability and character. Crisis reveals priorities and values that might otherwise remain theoretical. The effective impression manager prepares especially carefully for high-stakes moments, recognizing their outsized impact on perception. This means not just developing crisis management skills, but considering how decisions will be perceived during challenging circumstances. Ask yourself, how have you handled visible challenges in the past? What impression did your response create? How prepared are you for future moments of pressure or opportunity that will disproportionately shape others' perceptions of you? Seventh, Machiavelli emphasized the importance of understanding social narratives. For the great majority of mankind are satisfied with appearances, as though they were realities, and are often more influenced by the things that seem than by those that are, he observed. People interpret your actions through existing mental frameworks and stories, not in isolation. Modern cognitive science confirms this insight through research on confirmation bias and narrative psychology. People fit new information into existing stories they believe about individuals, organizations, and the world. Initial impressions create frameworks through which all subsequent actions are interpreted. This means that impression management isn't just about individual actions, but shaping the narrative through which those actions will be interpreted. A leader who establishes a narrative of being people-focused will have cost-cutting measures interpreted differently than one known primarily for financial priorities. The same action can create very different impressions depending on the established story. Consider the narratives that shape how others interpret your actions. What story do people tell about you? What frameworks have been established through which your behavior is understood? How might you influence these narratives to create more accurate or favorable interpretations of your actions? While these Machiavellian principles offer powerful insights for impression management, they also present ethical challenges. How can we apply these strategies without descending into manipulation or inauthenticity? Several key distinctions help navigate this tension. First, distinguish between deception and strategic emphasis. Ethical impression management doesn't involve fabricating qualities you don't possess or achievements you haven't earned. Rather, it means thoughtfully emphasizing genuine aspects of yourself that align with others' needs and expectations. Everyone contains multitudes, different strengths, interests, and capacities. Strategic impression management involves highlighting those that are most relevant and valuable in a particular context. Consider a leader with both analytical and interpersonal strengths. When working with the finance team, emphasizing their analytical thinking creates more effective influence. When addressing employee concerns, highlighting their interpersonal understanding builds better trust. Neither presentation is false, just strategically emphasized for the context. Second, recognize that impression management serves purposes beyond self-interest. Effective self-presentation enables you to lead, contribute, and connect more effectively. The manager whose team trusts their competence can implement necessary changes more smoothly. The colleague perceived as reliable gets included in important initiatives. The friend seen as trustworthy hears truths that help them grow. Machiavelli himself recognized that a leader's perceived character affected their ability to govern effectively, not just their personal advancement. The prince who appeared just, merciful, within reason, truthful, and faithful could lead more effectively than one widely perceived as corrupt or unreliable, regardless of their private virtues. Third, align your external image with your best self, not your worst impulses. Ethical impression management involves projecting the person you are striving to become, not creating an entirely fictional persona. By consistently presenting your best qualities, you actually strengthen them through practice and reinforcement. Psychologist William James captured this principle when he wrote, "Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does." Modern research on embodied cognition confirms that physically adopting the postures and expressions associated with certain qualities actually helps develop those qualities internally. With these ethical frameworks in mind, how might you apply Machiavellian impression management principles in common contemporary contexts? In professional advancement, the Machiavellian approach suggests several practical strategies. Identify the specific qualities most valued in your field or organization. Then authentically develop and showcase those qualities. Build visible relationships with respected figures in your industry. Ensure your contributions are appropriately visible to decision makers. Manage expectations carefully, consistently delivering what you promise. Prepare especially thoroughly for high visibility moments that disproportionately shape perception. For leadership effectiveness, Machiavellian impression management involves understanding what followers need to see to trust your direction. Demonstrate visible consistency between stated values and actions. Show appropriate confidence while acknowledging limitations. Respond to challenges in ways that reinforce rather than undermine your leadership narrative. Associate yourself with respected teams and achievements. Ensure your decision-making processes are perceived as fair and principled, even when making difficult choices. In relationship building, these principles suggest being attentive to the qualities most valued by those you wish to connect with. Demonstrate reliability through consistent small actions. Manage expectations carefully to avoid disappointment. Be mindful of how your associations and social context shape others' perceptions of you. Consider how your behavior during challenging moments disproportionately affects how others view your character. For personal brand development, the Machiavellian approach emphasizes understanding your audience, maintaining consistency across platforms and interactions, strategically highlighting achievements and qualities relevant to your goals, managing associations carefully, and being attentive to the narrative through which others interpret your actions and communications. In navigating organizational politics, these principles suggest being especially attentive to the informal values and expectations that shape advancement and influence. Observe who succeeds and why. Build strategic visibility with decision makers. Manage your associations carefully, especially during conflicts or challenges. Be attentive to the narratives through which your actions will be interpreted, especially during organizational transitions or uncertainty. Across all these contexts, Machiavellian impression management isn't about creating a false persona, but strategically presenting your authentic self in ways that maximize your effectiveness and achieve your aims. It's about understanding the reality that people judge by appearances and navigating that reality skillfully rather than naively. What makes this approach particularly valuable is its clear-eyed acknowledgement of human psychology. People make judgments based on limited information. They interpret actions through existing narratives and frameworks. They are influenced by associations and social proof. They remember moments of crisis and decision disproportionately. By understanding these patterns, you can present yourself more effectively without manipulation or deception. Ultimately, Machiavelli's insights on impression management offer a powerful middle path between naive authenticity, just be yourself and don't worry what others think, and cynical manipulation. The Machiavellian approach recognizes that how others perceive you directly affects your ability to achieve your goals, contribute effectively, and build meaningful relationships. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This Machiavellian observation isn't an invitation to deception, but a recognition of reality. By understanding this reality and navigating it skillfully, you can bridge the gap between who you truly are and how others perceive you, creating the conditions for greater effectiveness, influence, and impact in whatever domains matter most to you. As you reflect on Machiavelli's insights about impression management, consider, how intentional are you currently about how others perceive you? Which of these principles might help you present yourself more effectively in your professional or personal contexts? What authentic aspects of yourself might you strategically emphasize to better achieve your aims? The answers to these questions won't just change how others see you. They might transform what you're able to accomplish in the world.